Well, this is Catherine Schneider from the Fitchburg Historical Society, and we are continuing with our series of interviews with community leaders in Fitchburg, focusing on how COVID really impacted the Fitchburg community over this last year and plus months now. So we have today with us Pastor Daniel Owen from the Blackhawk Church here in Fitchburg. And we thank him so much for his time this morning and being with us for this interview. So welcome, Pastor Daniel.
Yeah, Catherine, it's good to be with you.
Thank you. First question, I guess, is just to ask you about Blackhawk Church, and maybe if you can give us a little bit of background on Blackhawk Church and your role there.
Yeah, for sure. So Blackhawk Church is one church, but we have three different campuses, and we have a campus downtown, actually in the upper house. We have a campus in Middleton off of Brader Way, and we have the campus here in Fitchburg. And so we've been, man, at church for what, over 30, 30 something years. And, we've been a part of Madison and love this city and love being a part of this community. And the reason why we have campuses is because we believe it's important to be local and to be in the neighborhood that you care about. So we don't want people driving 40, an hour away from their homes to come to church. We want to be in their neighborhood. So that's why we have campuses, so that we can do things locally and care about the local community.
Great, wonderful. And Blackhawk has been, actually, your campus there in Fitchburg is new, isn't it? Your newest campus. Am I understanding that correctly?
Well, actually, we've been in Fitchburg for over, I guess it'll be it'll be 9 years soon.
Uh,
We started in the school, Savannah Oaks Middle School. We actually met there for 7 years before we moved into this new building. And so I've been the lead pastor here for, I guess, going on 8 years, or excuse me, 7 years there. So it's been, great. And so we've been here a long time and built relationships with Leopold and other organizations like Badger Prairie Needs Network and other things in the community, and have enjoyed times at McKee Farms and different outings that we've been able to host here in Fitchburg. So yeah, we've been here for a little while, and it's a great community. It's a growing community, isn't it, Catherine? I feel like every time I'm driving around, it's just like, wow, it's just getting bigger and expanding in all sorts of directions. So
Indeed, indeed, it is a vibrant community. Well, let's maybe turn our attention to COVID, and that virus, of course, became widespread in Wisconsin in about March of last year in 2020. What was your initial response there at Fitchburg Blackhawk Church? And then, can you describe the steps you took to keep your congregation safe?
yeah. So first off, to everyone watching and listening to this, obviously the pandemic has been a challenging thing, very hard. There's been a lot that's happened with families and things we don't even know about. So, all of us have kind of been in that together, and hope everyone is doing well right now. So when it first happened for us, I think it was early March, we went ahead and shut down our services because we obviously, you can see behind me, we have a large gathering space, which is great on Sundays, but it's not great for the things we've been going through for the past year. And so we knew the safest thing was for us to kind of close the doors, in the sense we're trying to have some sort of large gatherings. And then, like many of us and many organizations, we just continued to assess what is the right thing to do. How do we love the city well? How do we love our people well? And how do we go about this? And so, I think you're like this, Catherine. I mean, I thought, it might be a month, 2 months, I didn't think about it a ton, but I didn't think it was going to be a year and 3 months before we opened again. And so, we thought the right thing was to, make sure and kind of close the services, because we want people to be safe and remain healthy, and do our part too, because we have a lot of people. So when a lot of people come here and gather, we don't want that to be any sort of catalyst for more people getting sick. So that's our response, was honestly to kind of shut things down real quick and make sure to take care of our people really well in doing that. And so we have an online service that we had already had going, but we went ahead and made that a little more robust. Typically, it had mostly the messages, but we wanted to include, obviously song and singing and worship and some other parts, forms of worship that we practice. And so we were able to do that online pretty quickly. But I will say, it took a lot of hands and a lot of work from a lot of people to get that done. So, we started that pretty much right away. So we shut down. I think it might have been March 8th, maybe. I think it was March 8th, and then I think we were right online on the 15th. And so we actually remained online all the way through April of this year. And part of that is because, like I said, we just wanted to be really careful and make sure that we were, just being really considerate of our people, but also considerate of the city and where we're at and how we're ready for that. So that's what we did.
And where did you look for maybe your guidelines in helping you know how to proceed? Where was your guidance coming from?
Yeah, so we put together a task force, a kind of a COVID task force of team members who would basically comb through the CDC and what the government recommendations were, what the CDC recommendations were, what Dane County was recommending. They would kind of comb through all of that material, and then we would basically, we're in Dane County, so whatever Dane County says, like, we want to follow that and, be a support to the city and to the city officials in any ways that we can. So some of it was really done for us because they really put those guidelines down. So we just had to, navigate some of the nuances of things that maybe weren't covered in those documents. But for the most part, we just followed what, the CDC in Dane County was asking. So.
Great. So could you give us some examples of maybe what changed at Blackhawk? I know besides closing down your services, which is
Sure.
major, of course, and then going online with your services, and how great that you could do that so quickly, and
Sure.
make it more robust, as you said. So maybe some examples of maybe what else changed for Blackhawk, and then what remained the same during this time. And then any other parts that technology played in your church community.
Sure. So, the things that stayed the same is that on Sundays we had services and they were just online. So we had digital church, and so that's where that went. We had many people who were already meeting in what we call life groups, or kind of groups that are smaller, where they get to know each other really well. There's a sense of belonging there, but there's also a chance to discuss what they're learning and how they're growing and ask questions. We want to be a culture where people can ask questions and explore their faith no matter where they're at. So we had these groups that were going. Now those groups, many of those groups maintained and continued. Actually, we ended up getting more groups because people wanted some form of connection. I would say, almost all of them went online, which is fine. They started using Zoom. So that's how technology became a huge asset to what we were doing. And then as things started, as kind of COVID season started changing a little bit with regulations coming down, some of the groups got back together and started meeting outside. Some started, being able to practice the right social distancing and for safety and everything. So, but our groups came together. We had Sunday services. Those are the things that stayed the same. Now, some of the things that changed were like my job and many of my team's jobs. And so, we have a Blackhawk Kids. We have a huge part of our church is dedicated to kids, and we love kids. We love them being a part of everything we do here at Blackhawk. And so, our kids person was like, "Wow, I don't have kids programming anymore. What do I do?" And she, which was awesome, she was also really good at communication. She switched over to kind of doing more social media communications. We started making videos, and she started doing that. The team and myself, we started making phone calls to our members, and we kind of kept that up at least for some time into the season, because we wanted to just check on them, see how they're doing. And so we went from kind of running a program or kind of doing things on a particular location to calling people and trying to reach out and make sure how they're doing and that they're doing well, which was great. I really got to have some good conversations. I got to know that there were some people who were going through some really hard things, and we as a team were able to come around them, love and support and care for them in the ways that we could. Otherwise, if we weren't doing that, or we didn't know, then you just can't simply support. And so that was just a really important thing that we tried to do in that season. And so those are some of the things that changed. Our jobs all kind of changed, to be quite honest. But we went back to some things of making sure that we were building those relationships and caring for people well. That's what matters. That's what really matters. And so the team here at Fitchburg, as well as, even Blackhawk Church itself, we really tried to move towards knowing how people are doing and making sure that we're reaching out and building those kind of support systems for the people who may need more help.